Hello and welcome. Today we are in the new Tier 11 American light cruiser, the Jacksonville. The video will be in two parts. First we're gonna talk about what the ship is like, and then we're gonna play a match with her. They will be both marked on the timeline, so you can just skip ahead if you want. She will be available in the auction with a starting bid of 100 million credits. The Jacksonville is a super Worcester. If you like the Worcester, you're gonna like the Jacksonville. Just like the Worcester, she is a fast-firing light cruiser with a lot of utility and magic armor, but she also has a combat instructions gimmick. She has 5 triple turrets with 152mm guns or 6 inches in American. She has about 15% more damage per minute than the Worcester, but the bigger advantage is that her shell flight time is one of the best for light cruisers. Her shells will hit a target as quickly as Des Moines or Annapolis shells. Combine this with 18.2 kilometers of base range, she can rain hellfire on battleships from afar without needing the range upgrade or being as severely outranged when using islands. Her 152mm guns have 30mm of HE penetration, just as usual, and 13% fire chance. Because of her combat instructions gimmick, she doesn't need IFHE. So you get to keep all of that fire chance. Jacksonville's aft turrets turn 360 degrees, kind of like the Cristoforo Colombo. But to actually fire all of the turrets on a target, you do need to show a lot of broadside. At least when going towards a target. When you're kiting away, it's not that bad. Her utility has a 9km radar, just like the Worcester, and her concealment is 9.9 kilometers, so a 900-meter difference. I think this is one aspect that she loses on against ships like the Annapolis and Des Moines. More radar range would allow her to radar cap zones better, while still staying behind islands. But in open water, it's pretty good. The radar lasts the usual 40 seconds base duration, with a 120-second cooldown. She also has a typical American Hydro with 5km ship detection range and 3.5km torpedo detection. It lasts for 100 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown. Her repair party heals for 0.66% per second. The Worcester, by the way, heals for 0.5%. And it has 5 charges compared to the Worcester's 4, so you can heal quite a bit more than the Worcester does. Jacksonville also gets a defensive fire consumable in a separate slot. On most ships, you won't really care about the DFAA, but on Jacksonville you do, because her anti-air is brutal. With the recommended skill build, her medium range 4km anti-air has over 1100 DPS. On top of that, you will add the defensive fire's 50% and then the sectoral AA, which I think is 75%. The anti-air on this ship truly is brutal. If you attack the Jacksonville with planes, you will lose the entire squadron, although you will usually still get a strike off. But I've even shot down the entire squadron of an FDR in a single strike. Her air concealment range also matches her anti-air range, so you gotta be quite careful. Jacksonville's combat instructions gimmick is why you shouldn't take IFHE on the ship. It's a meter that fills up when you hit enemy ships. When it fills up, you can activate it for 40 seconds and it will boost your HE penetration by 40%, so from 30mm to 42mm. It only affects shells that are fired after the buff is activated though, so you don't want to activate it right before your shells hit, but rather right before you actually fire the guns. The meter fills up by 1.3% per hit, so you need 77 shell hits to actually activate it. Personally, I think this gimmick isn't that important for the ship. And I think that's a good thing, because I've had some trouble actually using it. It takes a while for it to fill up, and what I saw happen quite often is that I would see a target, I would shoot it for a while, fill up the meter to about half to maybe 3/4, and then all the targets disappear. Maybe the ship I was shooting at dies, maybe it just got behind an island, maybe it just fell into concealment. But if I don't find a new target within 30 seconds, then my meter starts depleting, and it's gonna deplete back to 0 before I usually find a new target. On top of that, the second issue with it is that you would like to have this ability up when you hit battleships, right? But battleships are also the targets that are the easiest to hit to actually fill up the meter. So in practice what happens, or at least happened to me, is that the first encounter with battleships I might be able to fill up the meter unless the above happened. And then the second time is when I meet battleships I actually get to use it. Both problems combined meant that in a decent amount of games I only got to activate the ability maybe once or twice. I did talk about this with some other testers though, and they politely told me that it's a skill issue and that they didn't have this problem. And they might be right. It's absolutely possible. The armor on Jacksonville is magic, just like the Worcester. When I'm in a battleship and I'm fighting a Worcester, I find it quite annoying because I'll land lots of AP shells on her and they just won't citadel her. The Jacksonville feels like it's the same. I haven't fought any Jacksonville, so I can't confirm from that perspective, but looking at the armor and looking how the ship played, it definitely felt this way. She has the typical 25mm bow, stern and side armor plate, but the deck in the middle is 30mm. I believe the Worcester has the same thing. Her citadel sits a little bit above the waterline and is lowered around the rear barbettes. So this is why the armor feels like magic, because if a ship is sailing ahead fast and you don't lead enough, your shells will often hit under where the rear turrets are. But the Jacksonville's armor scheme means that you won't be getting a citadel there, unlike most other cruisers. So the armor scheme is absolutely great on this ship. The main downside of the Jacksonville is her firing angles. To get all your guns on target, you need to show almost flat broadside. It's not that bad when you're kiting away, but it can be pretty scary when you're sailing closer. This is very dangerous in most light cruisers, but in Jacksonville it's kind of alright. Because remember the armor thing. Her shell speed is high enough that she can engage targets at range, and this gives her enough time to turn and dodge when shot at. And because of the magic armor again, when you're showing your aft to the enemy, you're not as likely to actually get citadeled. I haven't really been just randomly blown up in her like you might expect in other light cruisers. Now I haven't played against her, but I could feel the frustration that battleships had when they were trying to hit me. You definitely have to be vigilant though, because if you do get into close range, well, you are a light cruiser and you can absolutely just go pop. Well, just like the Worcester. Another downside of her is that her radar is 9 kilometers. Now having a radar at all is pretty good, but there's a lot of ships with 10 and 12 kilometer radars, and well, they can just sit behind an island and radar a cap zone much better than you can. But I think her biggest downside is that she is, well, a tier 11 cruiser. Matchmaking for tier 11 ships means that if you bring a tier 11 cruiser, then the enemy team also gets a tier 11 cruiser. The question then becomes whether the Jacksonville can be as impactful on a game as all the other tier 11 cruisers, and I think that she will struggle a bit against ships like the Condé and Annapolis. The rest of the tier 11 cruisers I think the Jacksonville will be absolutely favorable against, but I'm not sure about the top two. It might just be that the Condé and Annapolis will be more impactful, but that is in solo random battles. Because of that, my initial impression of the Jacksonville was actually not that good, but the more I played her, the better I found her to be. Even on maps like Ocean, I think the Jacksonville plays just fine. On top of that, I think the Jacksonville is going to be an absolute monster in divisions. Pair her up with a smokescreen and she's just gonna devastate the enemy battleships and cruisers on her flank. Or pair her up with a CV and you're guaranteed to basically have one flank that the enemy CV really doesn't want to attack. Also, her utility is going to be a lot more valuable in division play and in organized play, because your teammates can take much better advantage of it. So all in all, Jacksonville is pretty good. Captain skills, I recommend going with what's recommended: incoming fire alert, then focus fire training, superintendent, concealment expert, adrenaline rush, then survivability expert, And with the 5 points you have left over, you can kind of do what you want. But I think the recommended anti-air defense and ASW expert is pretty good. It's mostly for the improves your ship's characteristics when her anti-air guns are active line. Essentially what it does is it reduces the cooldown of your consumables while your anti-air is firing. And then consumable specialist to get your radar up faster. But something you could also consider would be priority target and demolition expert. Upgrades, also I would go with the recommended, the reload upgrade. You don't really need the range upgrade. This could be funny at times, but I don't think it's strong enough to make sense. Concealment, obviously, there's no real chance that any of the others will be as useful. Propulsion, because you don't really need steering gears or the rest, and you do stand still quite a bit, so being able to accelerate faster is good. Aiming systems, since you do fire long range a lot, and your shells do spread apart quite a bit. In the second slot, honestly, it doesn't really matter unless you have the special upgrades. Out of the special ones, I think the radar is the best. If not, then hydro, then defensive fire. But if you don't have any of them, engine room protection is probably your best bet, although the engine doesn't get knocked out that often. And in the first slot, main arms modification 1. It is time to head into the maelstrom of battle. Of course, in true Worcester fashion, what this really means is that we're gonna find ourselves a nice, comfy rock that we can hide behind, and then we're gonna shoot ships that cannot shoot back. The map Shards is pretty much perfect for this, because there are so many islands that you can shoot over, and so much room to hide behind that it's pretty great for a ship like the Jacksonville. I am a little annoyed by my team's Marceau. She spawned with us on the northern flank, but decided to head towards the middle of the map. Oh, hello, Gearing. It's nice to see you, buddy. You have a nice and healthy 19,400 HP. It would be a shame if anything were to happen to it. Also, thank you very much, buddy, for that amazing smokescreen. This means I can just safely sail out and shoot without being spotted. That was very kind of him. Oh, I am spotted. What is this? Oh, the Gearing showed up for a little bit.
Torpedoes, astern.
That guy lost like half his HP. Actually, no, he lost more than half his HP. What a great start for a destroyer. Now, if that Gearing was like the Marceau and just left, I think that would be okay. Because, you know, being on the same flank as a radar cruiser is not the greatest. Oh, the mini soda is firing at us. Ooh, I'm quaking in my boots. Yeah, that did nothing, buddy. You need to try harder, okay? By the way, look at the gimmick, right? As I mentioned earlier, it's just not, you know, it would have been nice to have it before the ship actually died. Am I gonna actually even fill it up? Okay, thank God, we at least filled up the ability. But, oh yeah, that mini soda is so dead. Wait, she died to the Napoli secondaries. That's a little humiliating for a battleship. Actually reminds me, in the beta, when they newly released the Japanese aircraft carriers, yeah, by the way, that those weren't always in the game. I remember there was a match where at the end there was a Shokaku basically humping the border trying to get away, and Yamato was, I think it was Yamato, might have been some other battleship, was pushing in, and then the Shokaku secondary actually sank the battleship eventually. Not a fire or anything, the actual secondary. Oh, okay, I took a little bit more damage there than I expected. Hello? Where is this plane?
All stations, defend that area.
Okay, we're fine. Hello, Napoli. Fancy seeing you in that smokescreen. Oh, that might hurt. Nope, we're fine. Well, AP do. 8,000 damage. Okay, the follow-up was a little disappointing, but the initial salvo was pretty good. 8k. Yeah. But we found ourselves our nice rock that we can hide behind, and we can just shell all of these guys. Schlieffen, I think it's time for some Schlafen. You're at 30k HP, you're bow on towards my entire team, and all you can really do at this point is reverse or die. I mean dive. Already 20,000 HP. Yeah, not looking good, buddy. Not looking good. By the way, I already spotted our next target as well. Wow, we actually permaed both, or 2 torp tubes. Goodbye, Schlieffen. Have a good night's rest. Next up, I want to reverse a little bit to try to hit the Napoli again, to prevent her from taking our cap zone. But until then, I mean, there's a perfectly stationary Novosibirsk over there. She does have a lot of HP, and I am actually pretty broadside to her, but do I really have to worry about her? Do I really? Can't I just, you know, not care? Apparently I can. Oh no, she actually fired again. You know, I'm a little worried. I don't actually know what the Novosibirsk does. I'm guessing it's probably like a Super Petra or something, but I don't know. So I don't know if I should be afraid. I'm not. Because I just don't know. I mean, if I don't know, then it's gonna be fine, right? He thought that he found himself a nice comfy rock as well, but it turns out my rock is better. And my guns are a little better for this kind of a thing too. Fire, fire, fire. He can't really even leave, right? Like, those torpedoes would be very spooky, and if he does push forward, he's gonna run into potentially more ships. What she would really like to do instead is reverse. But what happens if she reverses? Uh-oh, there's suddenly a Sicilia on her broadside. Sorry, Novosibirsk, but your team really did seem to leave you out to dry. Wow, look at that dispersion. When not locked on, the shells really do spread out. Man, so much for a super cruiser at tier 11, huh? Because I assume that's what the Novosibirsk is. Oh, she actually sank our Marceau. Cool. So I suppose it wasn't really entirely wasted. Even if we don't see him though, I can just keep shelling. It doesn't really matter. I might not hit all the shells, but all it takes at this point is like 1 or 2 fires, I think. Actually, maybe not if she's healing. Okay, fire, nice. But we're gonna continue shelling until, you know, the job is done. Second fire? Yeah, I think she's dead. Okay, we can go for... Wait, what? Why isn't she losing HP? What is this? Okay, thank God. Ooh, arsonist. Very fancy. Okay, now it's time to find ourselves the next fight. I don't really want to try to shoot the Colbert even if I was in range. That just... hitting a speedy light cruiser like that is pretty difficult. But the Condé, however, that would be a perfect target. And she's just around the corner here. Man, that Condé must be terrified. There's a Napoli pushing, an Iowa, a Yamato, a Fletcher. Well, she might not know the Fletcher. And the Jacksonville. Yeah, Condé, you look pretty dead. Also, that's an annoying island I have to turn in, so... Sadly, due to my firing arcs, my guns won't be able to be on point. But it's unnecessary anyway. Oh, we've already got a Confederate. Anyway, what's the closest target? It's the Yodo, Wisconsin, and Yamato. Right? Right. So let's just head in their direction. Oh, they had a Yugumo as well. Interesting. That Sicilia is being a hero, trying to steal my kills. These are supposed to be mine, okay? Mine. Surely we're gonna get to Wisconsin. Never mind. I am still spotted. That is odd. Could be the Yugumo. Okay. Yamato is in range, so let's just keep shooting the Yamato. I imagine she's gonna go forward. Oh, torpedoes from the side. From the, from our spawn. Hello, Yugumo. Did you know that I have a radar? Well, if you didn't before, you're gonna know now. That was very nice of you to just bring your ship to me. Thank you. And the Yamato did prevail against the Sicilia, which means we have a chance of sinking her. Yay! Where's the Yodo, I wonder? Oh, they can only lose one ship, I think. Time to use our gimmicky ability, our combat instructions, that somehow improve the penetration of our HE shells. I am ineffective. I need more guns on target. Well, maybe not. And that is our Kraken unleashed. A very nice game. 183,000 damage. We got a Confederate, an Arsonist, a Kraken. We sank 5 ships. We set a million fires, and we harassed the hell out of a Novosibirsk. 2539 base XP. I am very happy with it. Not very well done by the enemy team, I have to say. But they were very good paid actors, to be honest. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.